Crazy Eights incident. On May 15th, 2001, a CSX engineer and conductor were going to switch a string of freight cars from track K12 to track D10 for departure on another train at Stanley Yard in Walbridge, Ohio. The train consisted of CSX SD40-2 8888.
Oh crap,
47 freight cars. 25 of them were empty, but 22 were fully loaded, including 2 tanker cars loaded with molten phenol, a toxic ingredient used in glues, paints, and dyes that is very harmful if inhaled or if it hits your skin. The air brakes, however, weren't connected, as this was just a short switching maneuver within the yard, which makes sense. It's not illegal. The train moved north out of K12, passing the conductor, who was positioned on the ground as the camera switch. The conductor advised the engineer by radio of the number of the cars that had passed him, and the engineer acknowledged. With 8 cars to go, the conductor notified the engineer by radio to prepare to stop. No reply. The conductor tried again, when 4 cars remained. Still nothing. He then ordered the engineer to stop, but again, there was no response. Meanwhile, the engineer noticed a misaligned switch and concluded that his train, although moving slowly, would not be able to stop short of it. He decided he was going to climb down from the train, correctly align the switch, and reboard the locomotive. Sounds silly, right? That's because it is. Before leaving the cab, the engineer applied the independent air brakes for the locomotive and attempted to apply the dynamic brakes as well, but failed to do so. But applying the independent air brake also disables the dead man switch, rendering it useless. He then set the throttle at notch 8 for full throttle. If the dynamic brakes were selected as intended, this throttle setting would have caused the train to slow down a lot thanks to the electric generator. However, since the dynamic braking was not engaged, the setting only caused the train to accelerate. Therefore, the only functioning brake was the air brake, and this was not enough to counteract the engine power. The engineer climbed down from the cab, aligned the switch, and then attempted to reboard the accelerating locomotive. He was unable to do so, slipped and fell, and was dragged about 80 feet from the train, receiving minor cuts before he had to let go. Now, with no one on the train, it becomes a runaway, escaping the yard and onto the main line, accelerating faster and faster. The engineer quickly ran to another employee who had a radio, and he called the yardmaster, who promptly notified the Stanley Tower block operator and the train master. The Toledo branch train dispatcher, located in Indianapolis, was also notified. The train was now proceeding southward on the Toledo branch, also known as the Great Lakes Division. At Galedia Siding,
Hey, Mom. What's up? Okay, I'm just playing with my train set down here. Okay. Smash into... Reverse the train into pull power. Reverse the train into power.
At approximately 1:35 p.m., the train dispatcher remotely operated a switch
crap, not
for the
again.
train to enter the siding. A portable derail was there, ready to derail the train and stop this runaway. However, it was thrown clear from the track by the force of the train passing over it, and the train sped on like nothing had happened along the tracks.
Oh
Then
crap.
local police come up with an idea. Shoot to kill. The idea? Use a buckshot on a rifle to hit a fuel shutoff button near the fuel tank. But guess what? Don't work. It has to be held in to actually do anything, rather than pressed for a millisecond by a bullet. So Crazy 8 speeds on a little bit. A few brave locals tried jumping on board the locomotive, but they chicken out as they realize she's going much faster than intended. Meanwhile, northbound train Q63615 was directed by the dispatcher into the siding at Dunkirk, Ohio. The crew was instructed to uncouple their engine SD40-2 8392 from their train and wait until the runaway passed their location. Sure enough, at approximately 2:05 p.m., the runaway train roared past the siding, and after the switches were realigned, 8392 chased after the runaway. Another engine, a GP38, was primed and ready ahead of the runaway to couple up to 8888 and push her back. The idea seemed dangerous, but was carried out nonetheless. Eventually, 8392 finally couples up onto the runaway at Kenton, going 51 miles an hour, and carefully applied the dynamic brakes,
I'm done.
hoping the couple